Welcome to JA Finance Park. I am going to show you an overview of the middle school simulation. First, the students are going to be logging in with their username and their password. And if you click on this eye icon, everybody's password is password123 exclamation point with a capital P. So this eye icon will help you make sure that they have that typed in correctly. From there, they are going to potentially need to choose a simulation, but sometimes it will just take them directly in. So we'll prompt them as needed. Here they get to select an avatar so they can just have fun with that. They're going to put in their student name, they're going to put in their school name, and then their educator name as well. And we'll prompt them as to which teacher to put. From there, they're going to answer 3 questions about budgeting. How confident are they in a budget? How important do they think it is? And how likely are they to use it? So they can just answer those honestly. And then they're going to get to explore a bunch of different interests and select up to 3 of them. So they can just look through this. They don't need to overthink it, but they can just click on the ones that they feel are the most interesting to them. What you'll notice is that does connect to some random life scenarios that happen throughout the simulation. They are then going to be given a scenario. So for middle school, they don't get to pick their job, and they also don't get to pick if they're married or if they have children. So you'll notice that we are an electrical equipment assembler. And if the student doesn't know what that is, they can click on this little info icon and learn more about it. They can note that they are single with a child, this specific person. It re-emphasizes their interest and it gives you their monthly salary. So once they get here, we're going to have you talk to the small group and have them share. And then from there, we're going to actually have them set a budget. And so in order to do that, we have a variety of passcodes that are needed. So staff are going to be walking everybody through the simulation, providing those passcodes as needed. You'll notice when they get to the net monthly income, they're just simply going to click on these 3 blue bars and it's going to automatically calculate, but it's showcasing the taxes that are being taken out. They'll need another code from JA staff. So what you'll notice is JA staff provides you some talking prompts to share with your small group while you're waiting for everybody to catch up in the simulation. The next step is for them to allocate their savings. And we really want to challenge the students to think about paying themselves first before they even get to their monthly budget. And so that's what we're doing here. They get to click into the various categories and they get to decide how much do they want to put into their general savings to pay themselves before they even start their monthly budget. They can use the slider and they can also just type in the number. And you'll notice it gives them up to 20% to allocate. So they can kind of make that decision as they go. Also, they might have debt. So you may have credit card debt. Everybody starts with credit cards. And then also they may have post-secondary. So get them thinking about what might they want to save toward their debts or their education for the future. This is money that's going into a savings account, right, to be able to be paid later, okay? So once they make that, they can just click on this finish button. I happen to be on my desktop, but most students will be on a tablet, and sometimes they need to collapse these sections in order for that finish button to show. So that's just a quick tip. Once we get here, we are going to start what we call research rotations. So Jimmy is our advisor who's going to be walking us through the steps so the students can kind of walk through and read through these, but JA staff will also be reading it as we go, and they can see a quick tour of their home screen. Then they're getting into their budget. So what you're going to notice is that there are 20 different categories. And within our simulation space, there are 20 storefronts that match these categories. There's going to be 1 volunteer at each station, and they are going to be provided some talking prompts about these specific categories. So during the research rotation stage, students are going to be rotating in 5-minute rotations. So they're going to go to a category. The volunteer is going to have 5 minutes to use those talking points that JA provides along with their personal real experience to showcase things to consider within that specific category. Then the volunteer is going to have the code to provide to the students after they talk for a little bit, and they're going to actually help the students log in to that expense category and set their budget amount. You'll notice that the simulation does give the students a bit of a range considering their specific net monthly income. And so the volunteer can kind of help guide them a little bit, but ultimately the students can set their budget for that category and click finish. After 5 minutes, they'll rotate to the next category. The volunteer again will share some additional information, share the code, and then walk the students through making that budget opportunity. Okay, so we're going to pretend and fast forward that we have walked through all 20 rotations and the students are now ready to start shopping. But I guess I do want to show you one more thing. Under transportation, the students are going to be applying for 2 auto loans. One is through a dealership and the other is through a bank or financial institution. All they have to do is click into those and hit submit and finish. And when they're under mortgage, under the mortgage storefront, they're going to be applying for a mortgage as well. I can tell you that not all students are going to be approved and some are going to be approved, but not have enough money to actually make a purchase. So I'll showcase that next. So once the students go through all 20 of those budget categories, you're going to then notice that we're going to start shopping. And so this is a little bit of a fast forward because I would provide those passcodes and the first thing the students would see is whether or not they were approved for loans. Now for this training purpose, you're going to notice I've already drilled into a bunch of these categories and made some purchases. You'll notice that in some instances, I went over my budgeted amount. It shows that as red, and that's okay. You can do that. And sometimes students just have no idea how much things might actually cost. You will notice that sometimes there are required purchases like electricity, natural gas, and water. Those were all required. I had to spend $105, $100, and $138 in those specific categories. Other categories, you get to decide. I chose not to have a pet, so I didn't have to pay anything under pet care. My specific scenario doesn't have a child. So one thing you'll notice is if they can't remember, they can always click on this view profile and you can be reminded of your specific situation. So I happen to be a physical therapist aide and I'm married with a spouse that has $2,900 in net monthly income. But I don't have any children. If I happen to have children, I would be required to have childcare as well. Okay. All of those scenarios are randomly selected. So you can be married with kids, you can be single with kids, etc. And that's just randomly assigned. So I haven't yet purchased my housing. So one thing I want you to notice is when they drill into here, there's often more than one tab to consider. And up here you can see I have $3,500 left in my checking account and I have a mortgage loan of $83,000. So as I scroll down, I can buy a house up to $83,900 or I can choose to rent. So even though I got a mortgage loan, it doesn't mean I have to buy. It's totally up to me. But you have to pay attention because some of these I'm not going to be qualified for. So I'd have to scroll down and I have $83,900. So I could purchase this house number 1 at $83,000 if I wanted to. So you'll notice that I can select that. And as I scroll down, I can say, yes, I'm going to apply my mortgage, and then I can go ahead and pay for that. The other thing is transportation, very similar. You're going to notice that some students are going to be able to have a loan and some aren't. So we have $12,000 and I can choose whether I want to go through the bank financing or if I want to go through the dealership. And so that doesn't really matter, but it just showcases that there's real options in the real world, right? So you're going to notice you can buy a vehicle, you can have public transportation, and you can ride share. So I'm going to have up to $12,000 to spend. So I might scroll down and see what I need. I am married, and so I think it's going to prompt me that now that I'm married, we have to have 2 transportation methods. So collectively, I can't go over that $12,000. So I could see, I don't know that I'm going to have an option to even do that because this is going to be 16,000. This is 15,000. I don't think I can. So I don't have enough loans to be able, unless I can do these two, but I can't do the math that fast all of a sudden. Let's see, where am I? Nope, I don't think I can. So I can't afford 2. So what I'm going to need to do is purchase a vehicle, if that's what I want. And let's just say I want the SUV. And then I can drill over and I can get a bus pass for myself or my spouse, or I could do ride share. So if they don't have enough money to buy both, they can go and kind of make a package deal to make sure that they can make ends meet. So then you'll notice that the checking account pops up and then you can pay for it. This one is kind of tricky. So if they don't get this blue pay button, it might be that they don't quite have enough money left in checking, or they don't have two different transportations if they're married, etc. So you're going to go ahead and click pay and then finish. And what you'll notice is that now I've worked through all my categories. I did a bunch before this training, and I have this complete shopping button that has popped up. Now, before I go to complete my shopping, we need to prompt the students to make sure they have enough money to pay their debts, because they're going to be prompted to do that after completing their shopping. So you'll notice that this is showing me that I have credit card, and I put some money on my credit as I was doing this just to show you what it would look like. But all students start with $100 as a balance. So we want to challenge the students to think about, if they have money, they want to try to pay that off as much as possible, not just the minimum, so that they can not have to pay interest in the future. I have a mortgage loan. Not all students will, but that's going to show that right here. And then it's also showing me an auto loan. I happen to not have a student loan in my scenario, but there could be a student loan as well. So from here, we just want to make sure that we have enough money to make ends meet. So I do have enough to do that. So I'm going to complete my shopping. And it's just going to give me a little prompt like, hey, do you know that you can pay more and not have to pay as much? So I'm going to continue to debt. And now I'm going to pay my credit card. So it's telling me my minimum payment is $27. But again, because I'm a smart budgeter, I know that I have enough money to pay the whole thing off, so I don't have to pay interest in the future. So sometimes they will then be prompted to pay their student loans if they have it. This is going to showcase that you have finished your young adult years, and they can drill down to see a little bit more regarding their projected financials over time and kind of their summary of their month. Then they're going to click on finish. They're going to have a series of questions to answer, so they can just read and use their best guess if they're not sure what it means. But they can kind of walk that through their experience. And then they can, just answer honestly. You're going to notice that these are built into the system, but we would like the students to also participate in a South Dakota survey. So we'll show you that as we go. So once you click through that, they're going to get a summary report that they can take a look at if they're interested in it. And we would love if the groups can kind of pause at this point and have a short little conversation kind of about what their experience was. And then when they click through, they get their congratulations. At this point, we would have the students log out of the simulation and toggle over to the QR code or to the home screen that has the South Dakota survey. We'll have them take a few minutes to do that, and then we'll gather everybody back for a debrief. That's just a quick overview. Again, I want to emphasize that JA staff will be here to showcase each step along the way and help support the volunteers. You'll have an inherited binder to walk you through the experience with all sorts of information and screenshots. But I know some people like the visual before getting to the experience.